If your knees ache when you stand up, your fingers feel stiff in the morning, or your joints hurt for no clear reason, you are not alone. Millions of people over 50 feel this every day, and most are told the same thing: it is just aging. That explanation sounds simple, but it is not the full truth, and believing it may be the reason your pain keeps getting worse. Joint pain after 50 is not automatically a sign that your body is failing. In many cases, it is a signal that joints are not getting the movement, support, or recovery they need anymore. When pain appears, most people respond by moving less. They sit more, avoid activity, and try to protect their joints. But over time, this often leads to more stiffness, weaker muscles, and even more discomfort. What if the problem is not your age, but what is happening inside your body every day? Chronic inflammation, muscle loss, poor circulation, and fear of movement can quietly work together, making joints feel older than they really are. These changes happen gradually, so they often go unnoticed until pain becomes part of daily life. Millions of people live with joint pain not because it is unavoidable, but because they were never taught how joints actually stay healthy after 50. Joints need gentle movement to stay lubricated. They need muscles to absorb stress, and they need consistency, not extreme effort. If you have been told that joint pain is something you just have to live with, stay with me, because the reality is far more hopeful than you may think. In this video, you will learn why joint pain gets worse after 50 and what actually helps so you can move with more comfort, confidence, and control in the years ahead. For many people over 50, joint pain begins quietly. It might show up as stiffness when getting out of bed, a dull ache in the knees after walking, or soreness in the shoulders that lingers longer than it used to. Almost instinctively, many people explain it away by saying, "This is just aging." That single belief often ends the conversation before it truly begins. Once pain is labeled as normal and unavoidable, people stop looking for solutions, stop paying attention to what their body is communicating, and slowly accept discomfort as a permanent part of life. But joint pain after 50 is not simply aging, it is a signal, and understanding that difference changes everything. Aging does bring natural changes to the body. Recovery slows down, muscles are easier to lose, and joints may not feel as forgiving as they once did. However, pain itself is not a requirement of growing older. There are countless people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond who move comfortably, stay active, and live without constant joint pain. If pain were an inevitable consequence of age, everyone would experience it in the same way. The fact that they do not tells us something important. Joint pain is influenced by how the body is supported over time, not by age alone. Joints are not lifeless hinges that wear out without reason. They are living structures that respond every day to movement, nutrition, muscle strength, inflammation, and recovery. For many years, the body can tolerate poor habits without immediate consequences. Skipped meals, long periods of sitting, rushed movement, chronic stress, and lack of rest may not cause noticeable pain in earlier decades. After 50, however, the body becomes less forgiving. The margin for error narrows, and habits that were once tolerated begin to show their effects through stiffness and discomfort. This does not mean the body is failing. It means it requires a different level of care. The belief that joint pain is just aging persists largely because pain is common and often develops slowly. When something happens gradually, it feels normal. Many people were also never taught how to adapt their lifestyle as they age, so pain feels mysterious and unavoidable. Without clear guidance, it becomes easier to accept discomfort than to question it. Unfortunately, this belief removes both hope and responsibility. When people assume nothing can be done, they often do nothing at all. One of the most misunderstood aspects of aging is the idea that the body can no longer adapt. In reality, the body remains responsive throughout life. Muscles can become stronger, mobility can improve, inflammation can decrease. These changes may happen more slowly than in younger years, but they still happen when the right signals are provided. Many people who have lived with joint pain for years experience noticeable improvement when they adjust how they move, eat, and recover. This is not about denying age. It is about respecting how the body continues to function. Pain is not a verdict. It is information. Joint pain often reflects increased inflammation, weakened muscles, insufficient movement, or poor recovery. It is the body's way of asking for attention, not surrender. When pain is ignored or dismissed as inevitable, the underlying causes often worsen. When it is acknowledged and addressed gently, the body frequently responds in a positive way. A common reaction to joint pain after 50 is to reduce movement. People sit more, avoid activity, and protect the joint by not using it. While this feels logical, it often creates the opposite result. Joints rely on movement to stay lubricated and supported. Without regular, gentle motion, stiffness increases, muscles weaken, and pain becomes more persistent. Over time, inactivity reinforces the belief that aging equals decline, when in reality, decline has been accelerated by avoidance. A healthier way to think about joint pain is to see it as a need for smarter support. Aging bodies do not require harsher workouts or extreme solutions. They respond best to gentle movement, reduced inflammation, adequate rest, and consistency. Small daily habits, practiced patiently, often make a meaningful difference. Many people are surprised by how much better their joints can feel when they stop fighting their body and start working with it. It is also important to understand that it is not too late. The body does not operate on deadlines. It responds to what it is given now, regardless of age. Improvement does not require perfection or dramatic changes. It requires attention, consistency, and respect for the body's signals. Even small adjustments, repeated daily, can lead to noticeable improvements over time. The story you tell yourself about your body matters. When joint pain is framed as an unavoidable consequence of aging, effort feels pointless. When it is seen as a sign that the body needs better support, action becomes logical and empowering. That shift in perspective alone can change behavior, and behavior changes outcomes. Joint pain after 50 is common, but it is not a life sentence. It is not punishment for getting older, and it is not something that must be endured in silence. Your body is not betraying you. It is communicating with you. When age is no longer blamed and support is prioritized, joints often respond with cooperation instead of resistance. Aging is inevitable, but unnecessary suffering is not. Chronic inflammation is one of the most overlooked reasons joint pain worsens after 50. Many people imagine inflammation as something obvious, like swelling after an injury, redness, or sharp pain. But the type of inflammation that affects joints as we age is usually quieter and more subtle. It builds slowly over time, and often goes unnoticed until stiffness and discomfort become part of daily life. This low-grade inflammation does not announce itself loudly, but it steadily changes how joints feel, move, and recover. Inflammation itself is not the enemy. It is a natural and necessary process. When the body is injured or stressed, inflammation helps protect and repair tissue. In younger years, this process is usually short-lived. The body responds, repairs, and returns to balance. After 50, however, the body is more likely to remain in a slightly inflamed state for long periods. Instead of turning off once healing is complete, inflammation lingers in the background, quietly irritating joints day after day. One reason this happens is that the immune system changes with age. It becomes more sensitive and less precise. Small stresses that the body once handled easily can now trigger an inflammatory response. Poor sleep, emotional stress, lack of movement, and certain foods all contribute. Over time, these signals add up. The body stays on alert, and joints are often the first place where this ongoing irritation becomes noticeable. Diet plays a significant role in this process. Many modern foods are designed for convenience rather than nourishment. Highly processed foods, excess sugar, refined carbohydrates, and unhealthy fats can all promote inflammation. When these foods become a regular part of daily eating, the body is constantly exposed to inflammatory triggers. For someone over 50, this can mean waking up stiff, feeling sore after simple activities, or noticing joints that ache without a clear reason. The pain does not come from one bad meal, but from years of small, repeated signals telling the body to stay inflamed. Stress is another powerful contributor. Chronic stress keeps the body in a defensive state. Stress hormones, when elevated for long periods, increase inflammation and slow down recovery. Many people carry years of stress into their later decades, often without realizing how deeply it affects their physical health. Joints are particularly sensitive to this internal tension. When the nervous system never fully relaxes, the body struggles to repair itself efficiently, and inflammation becomes the default setting. Lack of movement also feeds chronic inflammation. Joints depend on regular, gentle movement to circulate fluid, bring nutrients into the joint space, and remove waste products. When movement decreases, inflammation has more opportunity to settle in. Long periods of sitting, reduced activity, or avoiding movement due to fear of pain can all contribute. Over time, joints become less lubricated, muscles weaken, and inflammation becomes harder to control. Sleep is another factor that is often underestimated. During deep, restful sleep, the body performs much of its repair work. Inflammation is regulated, tissues recover, and the immune system resets. Many people over 50 struggle with sleep quality. Even if they spend enough time in bed, poor sleep disrupts this recovery process. Inflammation remains elevated, and joints feel the effects the next day through stiffness and soreness. This creates a cycle where pain interferes with sleep, and poor sleep increases pain. Excess weight can also intensify inflammation. Fat tissue is not inactive. It produces inflammatory substances that circulate throughout the body. Even modest weight gain can increase the inflammatory burden, especially around weight-bearing joints like the knees and hips. This does not mean weight is the only cause of joint pain, but it does mean that inflammation often has multiple sources working together. What makes chronic inflammation particularly challenging is that it often feels normal. People adjust to waking up stiff, moving slowly, or feeling sore by the end of the day. Because the changes are gradual, they become part of the background of life. Many assume this discomfort is simply what aging feels like. In reality, it is often the result of inflammation that has been allowed to remain unchecked for years. The encouraging part is that chronic inflammation is highly responsive to lifestyle changes. Unlike sudden injuries, it develops slowly and can often be reduced the same way. Gentle, consistent movement sends a powerful anti-inflammatory signal to the body. When joints move regularly, circulation improves, stiffness decreases, and inflammatory chemicals are cleared more effectively. This does not require intense exercise. In fact, excessive or aggressive movement can increase inflammation. The key is consistency and moderation. Nutrition also offers an opportunity for improvement. When the body receives more whole, nutrient-dense foods, inflammation often decreases naturally. Many people notice that when they reduce processed foods and increase foods that support the body, joint discomfort becomes more manageable. This is not about strict rules or perfection, but about gradually shifting the balance toward foods that calm the body instead of irritating it. Stress management is another important piece. When stress levels decrease, inflammation often follows. Simple practices such as slowing down, breathing more deeply, and allowing time for rest help signal safety to the nervous system. When the body feels safe, it can turn down the inflammatory response and focus on repair instead of defense. Improving sleep quality also has a direct effect on inflammation. Even small changes, such as going to bed at a consistent time or reducing stimulation before sleep, can support better recovery. Over time, better sleep helps regulate the immune system and reduces the constant inflammatory background that contributes to joint pain. Understanding chronic inflammation changes how joint pain is viewed. Instead of seeing pain as damage that cannot be reversed, it becomes a signal that the body is under too much internal stress. That stress may come from food, inactivity, poor sleep, emotional strain, or a combination of factors. When those sources are addressed, joints often respond with less stiffness, improved movement, and reduced discomfort. Joint pain after 50 is rarely caused by one single factor. It is usually the result of many small stresses accumulating over time. Chronic inflammation is the thread that ties those stresses together. When inflammation is reduced, the body often regains some of its natural balance. Joints move more freely, mornings feel easier, and daily activities require less effort. This understanding offers a more hopeful and realistic perspective. The body is not breaking down beyond repair. It is reacting to the environment it has been given. When that environment becomes more supportive, inflammation often calms, and joint pain can improve. Addressing chronic inflammation is not about chasing quick fixes. It is about creating conditions where the body can do what it was designed to do: adapt, recover, and heal. One of the most common reactions to joint pain after 50 is to stop moving. When something hurts, the instinct is to protect it by resting more, sitting longer, and avoiding activities that might cause discomfort. This response feels logical and safe. Unfortunately, when it comes to joints, it often has the opposite effect. Avoiding movement does not usually protect aging joints. In many cases, it slowly makes the pain worse. Joints are designed to move. Movement is how they receive nourishment and lubrication. Each time a joint moves through its natural range, fluid circulates within the joint space. This fluid brings nutrients in and carries waste products out. When movement is reduced, this process slows down. Joints become less lubricated and stiffness begins to set in. Over time, even simple movements can feel uncomfortable because the joint has not been moving enough to stay healthy. As people move less, the muscles around the joints also begin to weaken. Muscles play a critical role in joint protection. They absorb shock, stabilize movement, and reduce the amount of stress placed directly on the joint. When muscles lose strength, joints are forced to handle more load on their own. This extra strain often leads to increased pain, not relief. Many people are surprised to learn that some of their joint pain is actually the result of weak or inactive muscles rather than joint damage itself. Inactivity also affects flexibility. Without regular movement, tendons and ligaments gradually become less elastic. They tighten and resist motion, making joints feel stiff and restricted. This stiffness often feels worse in the morning or after long periods of sitting. The less a joint moves, the harder it becomes to move it comfortably, creating a cycle where stiffness leads to less movement, and less movement leads to more stiffness. Fear plays a powerful role in this process. Once pain appears, many people become afraid of making it worse. They begin to associate movement with harm, even when the movement itself is gentle and safe. This fear can lead to overly cautious behavior, where normal daily activities are avoided. Over time, confidence in movement declines, and the body becomes deconditioned. The joint may feel fragile, even though what it truly needs is controlled, supportive motion. Another factor is that inactivity can increase inflammation. Regular movement helps regulate inflammatory processes in the body. When activity levels drop, inflammation often rises. This creates more discomfort, which then reinforces the desire to rest even more. What began as a protective instinct slowly turns into a cycle that keeps joints irritated and sensitive. It is important to understand that movement does not mean pushing through sharp pain or forcing the body to do things it cannot handle. Not all movement is helpful, and the wrong type of exercise can certainly make joint pain worse. High-impact activities, sudden changes in intensity, or aggressive workouts can strain aging joints. This is often why people conclude that exercise is the problem. In reality, it is the type and approach to movement that matters. Gentle, controlled movement is what aging joints respond to best. Slow walking, light stretching, mobility exercises, and simple strength movements help maintain joint health without overwhelming the body. These activities keep joints lubricated, muscles engaged, and tissues flexible. Even a few minutes of movement spread throughout the day can make a noticeable difference over time. Consistency is far more important than intensity. Many people believe they need to exercise hard to see benefits, but joints after 50 benefit more from regular, moderate activity. Short, daily sessions are often more effective than occasional bursts of effort. This steady approach helps joints feel supported rather than stressed. Another benefit of gentle movement is improved body awareness. When people move regularly, they become more familiar with how their joints feel and respond. This awareness makes it easier to notice what helps and what aggravates discomfort. Instead of fearing movement, people begin to trust their bodies again. That trust reduces tension, which itself can lower pain levels. It is also worth noting that complete rest is rarely the solution for chronic joint pain. While rest is necessary during acute injury or flare-ups, long-term avoidance of movement usually leads to greater limitations. Joints thrive on balance, enough rest to recover, and enough movement to stay functional. Finding that balance is key. Many people who begin gentle movement routines after years of inactivity are surprised by how quickly small improvements appear. Stiffness eases, confidence returns, and daily tasks feel less demanding. These changes may be gradual, but they are meaningful. They reinforce the idea that the body is still capable of responding positively when given the right signals. Avoiding movement may feel protective in the moment, but over time it often robs joints of the very support they need. Movement is not the enemy of aging joints. When done thoughtfully and consistently, it is one of their greatest allies. By replacing fear with gentle action, many people find that their joints become more cooperative and less painful, even after 50. As people move into their 50s and beyond, one of the most important changes happening in the body is a gradual loss of muscle. This process is natural, but it becomes a problem when it is ignored. Muscles are not just for strength or appearance. They play a critical role in protecting the joints. When muscles are strong and active, they act like shock absorbers, reducing the stress that joints experience during everyday movement. When muscles weaken, joints are forced to take on more load than they were designed to handle. Many people focus on joint pain itself and overlook the condition of the muscles surrounding the joint. The truth is that joints rarely work alone. Every movement relies on a coordinated effort between muscles, tendons, and joints. When muscles lose strength, stability decreases, movements become less controlled, and joints are exposed to uneven pressure. Over time, this increased strain often shows up as pain, stiffness, or inflammation. After 50, muscle loss can happen faster if it is not actively addressed. Long periods of sitting, reduced activity, and fear of movement all contribute. As muscles weaken, daily tasks such as standing up from a chair, climbing stairs, or carrying groceries place more stress on the joints. What once felt effortless can begin to feel uncomfortable, not because the joints are failing, but because they are no longer being supported properly. Weak muscles also affect balance and coordination. When stabilizing muscles are underdeveloped, the body has a harder time controlling movement. Small misalignments or awkward motions place additional strain on joints, particularly in the knees, hips, and lower back. This not only increases pain, but also raises the risk of falls and injury. Strengthening muscles helps restore control and confidence in movement, which directly benefits joint health. Another overlooked aspect of muscle support is posture. Strong muscles help maintain proper alignment. When muscles weaken, posture often deteriorates. The shoulders round forward, the hips shift, and the spine loses its natural balance. These changes alter how force moves through the body, placing extra stress on certain joints. Over time, poor alignment can contribute to chronic discomfort that seems to appear without a clear cause. Many people hesitate to strengthen muscles because they associate strength training with heavy weights or intense workouts. This belief prevents them from taking advantage of one of the most effective tools for joint protection. In reality, muscles can be strengthened with very simple movements. Bodyweight exercises, resistance bands, and light weights are often enough to make a meaningful difference. The goal is not to build large muscles, but to restore support and stability. When muscles become stronger, joints often feel more secure. movements become smoother and the body distributes force more evenly. This reduces irritation and allows joints to move with less resistance. Over time, many people notice that activities that once caused discomfort become easier and less painful. This improvement is not instant, but it is consistent when muscle support is addressed patiently. Strengthening muscles also improves circulation. Better blood flow delivers oxygen and nutrients to tissues that support the joint, while helping remove waste products. This environment supports healing and reduces inflammation. Muscles that are regularly engaged send positive signals to the nervous system, encouraging the body to move efficiently and confidently. It is important to approach muscle strengthening gradually. Aging muscles respond best to slow, controlled movements performed with good form. Rushing or overloading the body can lead to strain and reinforce the belief that exercise causes pain. When strength work is introduced gently and consistently, muscles adapt and joints often respond with less discomfort rather than more. Consistency matters more than intensity. A few minutes of muscle-focused movement performed several times a week is often more beneficial than occasional strenuous sessions. Over time, these small efforts build a foundation of support that joints can rely on during daily life. Strong muscles do not eliminate all joint issues, but they significantly reduce unnecessary stress. They allow joints to do what they are designed to do, guide movement, not absorb constant impact. When muscles are neglected, joints pay the price. When muscles are supported, joints are protected. Understanding this relationship shifts how joint pain is approached after 50. Instead of focusing only on the joint itself, attention expands to the system supporting it. This broader view often leads to better outcomes and a renewed sense of control. Strengthening muscles is not about reversing age or chasing youth. It is about giving the body the support it needs to move comfortably and confidently in the years ahead. Many people reach a point where joint pain feels permanent. After years of stiffness, soreness, and discomfort, it is easy to believe that pain is simply the price of getting older. This belief can quietly shape expectations and behavior. When pain is seen as unavoidable, people stop looking for solutions. They lower their activity, accept limitations, and begin organizing life around what hurts. Over time, this mindset can be just as limiting as the pain itself. Joint pain is not a punishment or a failure of the body. In most cases, it is a signal. It is the body communicating that something needs attention or support. Pain often reflects imbalance, inflammation, weakness, or overuse rather than irreversible damage. When this message is understood, the focus shifts from endurance to response. Instead of asking how much pain can be tolerated, the question becomes what the body is asking for. After 50, the body becomes more sensitive to neglect. Years of rushed movement, poor recovery, stress, and inactivity accumulate. Pain often appears not suddenly, but gradually, as these patterns add up. This does not mean the damage is beyond repair. It means the body needs a different kind of care than it did in earlier years. Small supportive changes can have a powerful effect when they are applied consistently. Many people wait for pain to disappear before making changes. They tell themselves they will move more once they feel better or eat better once the pain improves. Unfortunately, this approach often keeps them stuck. Improvement usually comes after changes are made, not before. When the body begins to receive better support, pain often responds by easing over time. One of the most important shifts is recognizing that progress does not require dramatic action. The body after 50 responds best to steady, manageable improvements. Gentle movement, better rest, improved nutrition, and reduced stress work together. None of these alone are magic solutions, but together they create an environment where joints can begin to feel safer and less irritated. It is also important to understand that improvement is rarely linear. Some days feel better, others feel worse. This does not mean efforts are failing. Pain fluctuates naturally as the body adapts. Learning to view setbacks as part of the process rather than proof of decline helps maintain momentum. Patience becomes a critical part of healing. Another key element is restoring trust in the body. Chronic pain often creates tension and fear around movement. The nervous system stays alert, expecting discomfort. When small, positive experiences with movement are repeated, this alertness gradually decreases. The body begins to relax, and pain signals often soften as a result. This process takes time, but it is very real. Joint pain being a signal also means it deserves to be listened to, not ignored. Pushing through severe pain or dismissing discomfort entirely can worsen problems. The goal is not to silence the body, but to understand it. Adjusting habits, modifying movements, and responding thoughtfully to discomfort allows progress without unnecessary strain. Many people who once believed their pain was permanent are surprised to discover meaningful improvement later in life. While joints may never feel exactly as they did decades earlier, they often become far more comfortable and functional than expected. This change is not about curing age, but about working with the body rather than against it. When joint pain is reframed as communication rather than a life sentence, hope returns. The focus shifts from limitation to possibility. Each small choice becomes a way to support the body rather than punish it. Over time, these choices add up. Aging does bring change, but it does not demand constant suffering. Joint pain does not have to define the years after 50. With understanding, consistency, and patience, many people find that their bodies respond positively, reminding them that improvement is still possible and that pain, while meaningful, is not the final word. Remember, you're not fighting against your body. You're finally learning to work with it, to honor it, to give it what it truly needs to thrive. This journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress, consistency, and the deep belief that your best years can still be ahead of you. You have everything you need to begin right now, and your future self is already thanking you for taking this first step. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue exploring what it means to age vibrantly and live fully at every stage of life.